guys, and welcome to another random horror review. We're up to episode 5. I'm Caleb Bakes01. Thank you for joining me again, or if you're new to this channel, welcome. Hopefully you like today's review. For today's review, I decided to get into my Masters of Horror set again and revisit the very first ever episode I ever watched of Masters of Horror. Obviously, if you've seen the title of this video, you're going to know what episode it is, what episode I'm talking about. But that is John Landis' episode from Season 2, Family. Normally I have a nice cover art or something that I hold up next to me. I don't own these episodes in singular copies, so I'm just holding up my Season 2 set that has the episode in it. There we go, Family. And I know if you've seen, if you're familiar with Masters of Horror, you're going to be saying this is technically a series, you're reviewing an episode, don't you normally just do movies? Well, my rebuttal is, if you're familiar with Masters of Horrors, I see them as short films because that's sort of what they are. They roughly run for an hour, give or take. So I feel like it's fair game, let's not be nitpicky. So let's get into the review of John Landis' Family. We'll start with the plot. So basically we have our lead character, Harold. He's a man that lives by himself, but through his house he has the skeletons. He's keeping the skeletons of these people that he's killed, and he, in his mind, sees them as his family. So he has this lady who in his mind is his wife, the skeleton of a young girl, that's his daughter, and grandparents, all sprinkled through his house, and in his mind he sees them as his family. But then through the episode, a new couple moves in his street, I believe next door. They're welcoming, he welcomes them, but he starts to become infatuated, getting tongue-tied, starts to get infatuated with the wife, and now he wants her to become part of the family too. This episode is very quirky, very charming. Obviously, as I said, it's directed by John Landis. If you're part of the horror community, you'll probably know him mostly by directing an American Werewolf in London. So it's got that quirky, dark comedy vibe to it. But the episode is, as I said, very charming too, and a lot of fun. And that also comes down to our lead, played by George. I believe his last name is pronounced Wendt. Yeah, I'm not too sure. But he's the same. He's very charismatic. He's very charming at times. He's a bit goofy. He just kind of gives that sort of vibe. But he's also very quirky, and he can be disturbing, obviously, with the type of plot it is. This episode is a lot of fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, as I said, with that dark comedy vibe, and that really does suit the episode very well. Now, when I got into the plot of this episode, I feel like it did sort of give a little bit away, but that's hard to not give it away, because as I said, it only runs for, I think, just short of an hour, this episode, so it's hard to give stuff away. But from my first time watching it, and even now, I've always sort of felt maybe this episode could have went with a darker, more serious approach, and maybe that could have benefited the episode a little bit more. Maybe because very early in the episode, in the first maybe 10-15 minutes, you find out that his family that he's talking to and communicating with are actually skeletons of people that he's killed. Which is fine. It's not a negative for the episode, but I always thought it would have been a little bit more darker and more of a shock and more of a crazy reveal if maybe like later in the episode you just figure out that something in his head is even more twisted than what's leading on for the start of the episode, and you have this big reveal that his family are actually these dead bodies and these skeletons. I've always thought that would be a really dark, twisted approach to this episode. But then, if you look at the outcome for this episode, which I really do enjoy, I like the twist in this episode, maybe going with that dark, depressing sort of reveal at the end that I suggested, maybe that would take away as well. So, it's a hard one, I'm sort of caught in the middle of thinking, if it went darker, maybe it would have benefited the episode a bit better, but also I'm sitting sort of with the glass half full approach and saying, with what we've got, it's quirky, it's fun, and maybe that was the right way to go. Now, this is a hard review to get really deep into and talk a lot about, because as I said, what we're reviewing is very short. As I said, it only runs just short of an hour. But there's a lot to like about this. It's quirky, it's fun. Maybe there are some missed opportunities, but the acting's really good. One thing I forgot to mention is the suburban setting. I really like how, it's all set in this suburban family white picket fence town, or in the street, really. I really like that vibe of it, and there's something twisted and dark behind, what seems like a perfect street. I like those sort of movies. This has that. This episode is a lot of fun, and I keep saying that, and I do have a fondness for this episode because it was the first one I watched, and I do get a kick out of it. I do enjoy it for the most part. Just for me, as I said, I feel like I'm sort of caught on the fence with maybe if it went with a different, darker approach, it would have turned out better. But for what it is, I do enjoy it. So if I'm going to give this one a rating, I'm going to give John Landis's episode Family a 6.5. Maybe that's a little low for all the things that I'm saying, but I feel like that's reasonable. 6.5, really close to a 7, but I'm going to stick with that. So if you've never seen any of the Masters of Horrors before, I feel like Family maybe is a good episode to start with. There are some really good episodes in Masters of Horror. I want to do more reviews on the Masters of Horror, maybe further down the track. I've seen a lot of those episodes. There actually are episodes that I haven't even watched before, but for now, Family 6.5. Sorry, so this episode of my random horror review did go by very quick, but as I said, I don't want to get too deep into details on, something that only runs for an hour. I'm going to give away spoilers and too much for people that want to see this movie for the first time, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching this episode again. Hopefully I'll have some content out again soon, and thank you guys for watching.